It was originally called Somebody's Got to Do It. We changed the name to Dirty Jobs. It goes on the air.
He was the man who turned danger into purpose. Mike Rowe, the face of Dirty Jobs. But behind the laughter and grit was a heartbreaking truth few ever saw. Before the fame, before the cameras, there was a moment of failure, frustration, and doubt. A man sitting in a dim bar called Grumpy's, staring at the end of his career, wondering if he'd already peaked. Yet, from that darkness, an idea was born. One that would change television forever. 3 simple words scribbled on a napkin. Somebody's gotta do it. It wasn't just a show, it was a movement. A tribute to the forgotten, the unseen, the ones who built the world with calloused hands. But the road to glory came with a price. Broken bones, near-death experiences, and a tragedy that almost silenced him for good. This is the story of how Mike Rowe turned pain into purpose, and dirt into honor. Their first segment featured a truck driver at the San Francisco Zoo, a man who spent his days driving through filth, hauling animal waste. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't clean, but it was real. And people loved it. The raw honesty, the humor, the humanity, all of it clicked. Within a year, they had filmed 25 segments. Local fame grew, and even Emmy nominations followed. But just when everything started working, everything fell apart. CBS changed management, and the new bosses decided that Dirty wasn't family-friendly. They wanted polished, not gritty, safe, not real. Mike refused. He believed the dirt was the story. So he quit. He took a copy of his artificial cow insemination segment, yes, the one where he collected bull semen, and mailed it to every major network in America. One rejection after another poured in. His favorite came from Comedy Central, which read, "At this time, our fall schedule does not allow for a talk show that takes place inside a septic tank." Most people would have stopped there, but Mike Rowe wasn't most people. He reached out to Craig Piligian, the founder of Pilgrim Films and Television, who had previously produced Survivor and American Chopper. Craig had once hired Mike for a terrible show on TBS called Worst Case Scenario, and he still owed him a favor. When Craig watched the tape of Mike working with dairy cows, he saw something unique, an honest, fearless, and funny take on reality television. Together, they pitched the concept to the Discovery Channel. The network loved it, but wanted a new name. They called it Dirty Jobs. In 2003, Mike Rowe quit Evening Magazine for good. Dirty Jobs premiered that same year and officially launched as a full series on July 26, 2005. It would go on to run for 8 seasons, air more than 300 episodes, and even earn 5 Primetime Emmy nominations. What started as an idea in a bar had become one of the most successful reality shows in television history. But behind the laughs and charm was pain. Real, physical pain. Mike's body paid the price for every episode. Broken bones, burns, torn ligaments, and cuts deep enough for stitches. He climbed, crawled, and nearly drowned his way through the dirtiest corners of America. And it all began with one belief. Someone has to do the work. One day, Mike found himself 300 feet above the ground, hanging from ropes, cleaning windows on a skyscraper. The wind was howling, his harness cut into his legs, and his hands were bleeding. The worker beside him laughed and said, "If you start spinning, just try not to puke, because we'll get hit." By the time they reached the next landing, Mike's legs were completely numb. He gasped, "I'm not sure I have use of my legs." The crew smiled and said, "Ohana, Mike, you're on your own." That was his welcome to Dirty Jobs, and it was only the beginning. Next came the sludge pit, a dark, suffocating space where the temperature hit over 105 degrees. The air was thick, the smell unbearable. Mike spent hours shoveling black goo into buckets until his arms ached. When he asked how long it took to get clean after a job like this, one worker simply replied, "A good long time." Then came the day he scraped live barnacles off a buoy. Slimy, cracking creatures that clung to the metal like something out of a horror movie. Crawling inside to clean the horn, Mike joked, "Are you sure this is a job?" Someone yelled back, "It's a bad job, but it's a job." The aircraft fuel tank was worse. a tiny, airless chamber that smelled of jet fuel and fear. As he worked, fluid from the plane's bathroom dripped onto him. "Any advice for this?" he asked. "Yeah," said a coworker. "Wash your hands before eating chicken nuggets." But it was the boiler that broke him. Crawling in head first, shoulders scraping, he worked in darkness until his only light bulb shattered. When he finally emerged, covered in soot, he laughed and said, "Somebody's gotta do it." That's when Dirty Jobs found its soul. Through all the jokes and the chaos, Dirty Jobs revealed a side of America that television had forgotten. Real people doing hard work with pride. But then came the day that nearly ended everything. In 2004, while filming in the Bahamas, Mike was testing something called the shark suit, invented by Jeremiah Sullivan. It was made of stainless steel mesh designed to protect divers from shark bites. The plan was simple: dive down, test communications, and come back up. But underwater, nothing ever goes as planned. At 60 feet below, Mike suddenly felt his chest tighten. He tried to inhale, but there was no air. He had burned through 45 minutes of oxygen in just 15 minutes because of adrenaline and fear. His last breath was an exhale. He looked up and saw nothing but the bottom of the boat, 6 stories above. Next to him was Leon, a reporter from TV Guide, who immediately realized something was wrong. Leon grabbed Mike's gauge. It was empty. Without hesitation, he flooded his buoyancy vest and pulled Mike upward, both men kicking through the water in heavy steel suits. Mike later said, "When your last breath is an exhale, all you want is oxygen." He barely made it back to the surface alive. That day, Dirty Jobs came close to ending in tragedy. Over the years, Mike's injuries piled up. He cracked ribs, broke knuckles, lost fingernails, and even had his contact lenses melted to his eyes after a blast furnace accident while working with a blacksmith. He once said, "When you pick little bits of plastic out of your retina, it's a gut check you don't forget." But no matter how dangerous it got, he never said no. Every episode was unscripted. Every shot was real. The humor, the fear, the exhaustion, none of it was acted. It was honest work, captured as it happened. After 8 long years, the Discovery Channel decided to cancel Dirty Jobs in 2012. When Mike finally broke the news, fans were heartbroken. For many, it wasn't just a TV show. It was a reminder of dignity, effort, and pride in the kind of work most people overlook. Mike took time before announcing the end because he needed to say goodbye properly. It wasn't just another gig for him. It was a calling. He thanked his crew, Dave Barsky, Doug Glover, Troy Paff, and the rest of what he called his band of brothers. Together, they had crawled through sewers, faced farm animals, hung from bridges, and nearly frozen in the Arctic Ocean. They weren't soldiers, but some days it felt like a battle. Mike also thanked the hundreds of American workers who opened their doors to the cameras. They were the real stars, he said. But the story didn't end there. In 2018, whispers of a comeback began. By 2020, with the world in lockdown, Mike and his team created a spin-off called Dirty Jobs Road Trip. It premiered in July 2020 and reignited America's love for the show. A year later, Discovery officially revived Dirty Jobs with Mike Rowe once again at the helm. The series returned on January 2nd, 2022, and ran for 2 more seasons before ending again in February 2023. For Mike, it wasn't about fame anymore. It was about purpose. He had spent 2 decades reminding the world that real heroes don't sit behind desks. They're the ones who build, fix, clean, and repair everything we rely on. They are the backbone of civilization. As Mike Rowe once said, "These jobs don't do themselves. Somebody's got to do it." From sewer trenches to shark-infested waters, he reminded the world that every job has dignity, that every worker has worth. He showed us that the foundation of society isn't built by CEOs or influencers, but by the people who keep everything running. Mike Rowe didn't just get dirty. He made America proud of the dirt again. So the next time you flip a switch or drink clean water, remember the hands that make it possible. Mike Rowe showed us that real honor lives in hard work, not fame. If his story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories. Thanks for watching.